right. Welcome back. We are focusing on specific strategies and habits to support your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And right now, we're going to be starting a reset or refresh because after busy holiday seasons, typically there's a lot more stress, there's a lot more going on. Some extra treats and things that really, I think, calls for not just a gut reset. We will go through what it can look like in some ways, some strategies, and I have actually a whole detox guide on how you can do kind of that gut reset. But it's also going to be with mindset, with stress relief, with those other little areas in the daily habits. We'll talk about things like lymphatic system, different systems in the body, and how and why we might need to do a little bit of a reset or detox in those different areas and what that can look like. So, a little bit on a fresh start. And these are some of the signs that maybe you need a little bit of a reset or detox in some capacity. Sometimes it shows up as more fatigue. Another one, which I'm not sure if it's on here, is more frequent sugar and junk cravings. That's a sign that there's probably some sort of inflammation, something off in the gut, or even maybe a little bit of an imbalance with the blood sugar and everything. Feeling a little bit more irritable, overwhelmed, more easily kind of agitated or triggered, that kind of thing. Difficulty with the concentration, more brain fog, more just kind of blech, maybe lower motivation. Sometimes it can show up in different ways. Um, Feeling maybe a little bit autopilot, like, ugh, blah, 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 blah. Reacting and responding more than you are responding, those kinds of things. Even it can show up in things like skin issues, more breakouts, different kind of random rashes and things like that. There's a few different ways that it can show up. And like I said, it's not always just the gut. Sometimes it's the lymphatic system. Sometimes it's a buildup of maybe heavy metals in the system or just synthetics and additives and preservatives that are from different foods we've been eating or things we've been breathing in from our environments, whether that's air fresheners and candles or just pollution outside or whatever it is. So all of that can kind of combine together and start causing some traffic jams in our systems, our brain, our nervous system, our lymphatic system, our gut, as well as even just things like our liver needs a little bit of love sometimes. So we're going to go through all of that and talk about regulating that nervous system so that you can get good rest when you need rest, really restore, replenish your adrenals and things like that, and then be energized and focused during the day when you need that. That gut brain health, of course, we know that's important. Things like the metabolism and hormones. And a lot of times I'll touch on in nutritional things that really help with that, like our awesome, rise and source minerals that are going to help support, as well as other things like what foods support which hormones, what foods are going to support better, serotonin, thing, along things along those lines. Our lymphatic system, of course, right? And sustainable routines. My goal is that this is not just a 30-day, 60-day quick, diet or something. That is not the goal. What I love to do is help you start shifting those everyday little things so that it can stick. And we talk about things like taking a small little habit and shifting. So you're adding something small to what you're already doing, like brushing your teeth, habit stacking, as they call it. Or you, instead of snacking on this, at night or whatever, you just slightly shifting it so that it's a little bit better. And then over time, it gets easier and easier and easier. So we'll talk about strategies like that that help you sustain long-term well-being and better habits overall, mentally and physically as well. The nervous system is definitely a big piece of it. So you'll see lots of strategies that also focus on that because our nervous system sends a lot of signals throughout the body to say, hey, we're stressed, we're inflamed, we're whatever, or we're safe, we're calm, we're happy, all of that, which really does impact things like hormones, digestive system, among many other areas. So we know it's all connected, and that's why we do this. Okay, let me see if I can get my so mindset is a piece of it. Like I said, there's the mental emotional component, and then of course the physical habits as well. So we'll go through some mental things as well on how you can start shifting how you think about your habits. And really, it's very interesting when you start to kind of realize like, oh, I actually have kind of an emotional pattern around this or that. And it might not be food, it might be exercise, it might be other areas. So definitely we're going to touch on some of those things as well. Our thoughts that impact our behaviors, our decisions, and thereby domino into things like our hormones, even our sleep, lots of different things like that. And some of the thought patterns and emotional patterns are also surrounding how we handle stress. Those kinds of things are all important, and it can take a little bit of time to start shifting them, but we absolutely can. So these are some of the things that we're going to go through little by little, not all at once. Today, we're not going to do all of this today. I do like this if you have ever seen something kind of along these lines, that a lot of times it's like 98% of the time the way that we think about something, whether it's a person, a health related thing, our exercise, our nutrition, our even just our life goals. This applies for goals and things like that too in our life and work and things like that. The way that we think about it will directly impact our words and our behaviors or our actions. And eventually, those behaviors and actions can become our actual habits, our tangible habits. And over time, that can become part of who we are. They called it character, but over time, that can, really be a big part of who we are. And they put in like destiny there, but basically, that can greatly influence the outcome, the future results that we will see in our life. And people say, it's your future, your destiny, but this can all be impacted, changed, or shifted with how we are thinking, how we believe and think and view many different areas in our life. And that especially applies in our health and our well-being. Yes, we do have to start shifting our actions as well. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we can't just think about changing a habit and not actually do anything. So that's what we're here to talk about. Okay, so we are going to kind of go over that connection between the nervous system, the brain, nervous system, and our physiological well-being, because so many people, especially people who have a lot of like inflammatory challenges, chronic conditions, autoimmune conditions, things like that. We've come to find out that much of that is very connected to the nervous system being stressed in some capacity, whether that's lack of sleep, or actual just a lot of stress, go, 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 and never really being able to replenish very well. Or whether that is because of environmental toxins or additives in foods. And, there's all the, there's different areas that can happen, how that can cause the nervous system to be in what we call that fight or flight, right? Or fight, flight, or freeze. But what that basically means is there's something triggering some sort of inflammation, something telling the nervous system we are not okay. There's a problem. That instantly it's basically a light switch. Our nervous system doesn't really have a medium mode. It's either going to be in hyper alert state, the fight, flight, or freeze, or it's going to be in our rest, digest. There's only two states, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. There's only really two options. It's not, unfortunately, we don't have many more options. So what that means is when we can understand what that looks like in our daily routines, that when we wake up in the morning, we want our nervous system to be a little bit more alert. We want a little bit of cortisol and adrenaline to kind of help us through the day, but not extreme. We want that energy. We want that oomph going on. But as we get into a later afternoon, dinner time, after dinner, we want to be really intentional about bringing that back down and doing things that are going to help our nervous system feel safe, help release the tension physically, mentally, emotionally, and allow our body to start getting ready to rest and get really good deep sleep so that our melatonin, our own natural melatonin, and our own adrenal system can replenish. That's when all of those hormones and everything replenish. So we'll go into that more as we get to that segment, but different detox strategies and what's going to be the best fit for you. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about at the end is what specifically you can start to implement based on your current goals. Daily routines for detox, for metabolism, for your mind body health. We'll touch on the gut health and everything, the microbiome and all of that, your wellness routines, helping with inflammation, things like your environmental stuff, what can be done to reduce some of those external, factors like air fresheners or whatnot, those kinds of things that might be impacting your health as well. Stress relief, making sure we have good routines and habits around our sleep and our routines for keeping that cortisol controlled so we don't have it out of control while we're trying to sleep, which that's one of the biggest things that starts causing inflammatory problems and can contribute to things like autoimmune is when our cortisol is too high when we're sleeping. And while we might sleep, it's probably not deep enough. You might be waking up during that between 2 to 4 a.m. And that is not allowing our melatonin to be enough and our adrenal system to replenish. So we have to manage that. Mindset, of course, we've touched on that a little bit. We'll get to more strategies and just really establishing those routines. So, those little 1 or 2 minute things that you can fit into your life, no matter how busy you are, because a lot of us are quite busy. I know how that is with 3 little humans running around, never a dull moment. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a few tools as we get going here. This is one option. If you feel like this one doesn't work for you, reach out to me and I have a couple other ones available, but I am going to put this one in the chat for you guys. And again, if you have trouble finding it in the chat or something, keep me posted. I can send it in like email or something else if needed. Yes, time for a reset. Yes, I see that. Right. I am right there with you. And everyone is so different. Sometimes it's the snacking and stuff, and sometimes it's more um just the getting better routines to get the rest and working on some of those other areas are more like lymphatic and just general inflammation. So this is a daily routine. So what I encourage you guys to do as we go through, I'm going to touch on a couple more strategies before we wrap up today, is to really just think about what is one thing I can fit into my morning routine. What's one small thing I can do somewhere in the middle of my day, whether it's before lunch, after lunch, whatever that looks like for you. Some people, it's when they get home from work, depends. And what's one thing that I can fit into my evening routine, whether that's before bed or after dinner. It depends. Like some people love to just try to focus on starting with a 5 to 10 minute walk after dinner. Or sometimes it's around that time that you brush your teeth and you're going to add in something there to help, maybe some stretches for helping regulate the nervous system and relieve the tension and stress or whatever that looks like. Okay. So I put that in the chat. And then those of you who want to do more of a gut detox and you want the step-by-step guide, put something in the chat so I can know if you want that, because I can also grab that really quick. I'm going to put some of these strategies in here too while I'm thinking about it. Mind body strategies to help, like I said, regulate that nervous system. If you know that you're someone that your cortisol has been a little high, the stress has been a little bit high, or for whatever reason, maybe you haven't been sleeping super great. You wake up in the morning. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like a train ran over you, that's probably an indication you either didn't get enough sleep or your cortisol was too high while you were sleeping. You didn't get deep enough sleep for some reason. And that's going to cause inflammation. That's going to start dysregulating things like hormones and thyroid in several different areas. So you want to be aware of that and know, okay, I need to start implementing some of these strategies, these mind body things before I go to bed. Even, you know, better if you can implement them after dinner, if you're able to find space in there. And it can look like 1 minute at a time, 5 minutes, depending on what your, routine looks like. I know with kids, it can be a little bit different. Mine tends to be around the time where I'm like brushing my teeth after I put the kids to bed, but it depends on the day. So, and exercise, this says 30 minutes a day. It depends on you and what your routine looks like. Some people love doing the 30 minutes a day. That's not always realistic. You can't always do 30 minutes a day. 5 to 10 minutes of walking or stretching, or literally just kind of like while you're watching TV, move your legs, stretch your arms. 5 to 10 minutes is way better than nothing. And you actually do not need intensive cardio exercise all the time. That's something like maybe once or twice a week if you can, but it can look like a walk. So just knowing that you don't need to overwhelm yourself with a whole bunch of time to do that. It can be small and simple, and it can still be highly, highly effective if you're implementing these other things as well. Your water. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and send the detox because I think a couple people were asking for that. So hang on. Oh, let me do this. Send the detox while I'm thinking about it. And see if I hit it from myself. While we're doing that, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well. Okay. This is the strategies. It's hiding from me. Okay, I'll send it at the end because the file is not cooperating with me. Okay, couple more things before we wrap up here. And we'll go from there. Okay. I want to touch on why you needed to. So I mentioned the nervous system here. I'm going to touch on this really quick. This is a nice little depiction of how our systems are talking to each other. So this kind of shows, if you're doing more of the healthy things, there is a nice signal being sent between the nervous system, the gut, as well as other organ systems. This is kind of a representation that we're safe, we're not inflamed, there's not a danger, there's no red alerts going off. So the nervous system is usually in a better state. But as soon as there's something triggering, and this is for mental health, but really it can be anything. It can be small things that can trigger our nervous system to get a little wonky. And it could be like couldn't find a parking spot, running late, a stress at work, a stress with the family, a child, not feeling well or something. Or, I mean, it can be any number of things from something small to something bigger, or an accumulation of things over time that can create that nervous system state that's in a heightened alert state that typically is going to domino into some sort of inflammation. That fight, flight, or freeze will usually slow down the digestive system, slow down the metabolism, higher cortisol, higher adrenaline, a little bit lower serotonin, lower metabolism, and all those things. So you can see that goes there. And it goes the other way as well. Maybe it's just that we've been eating a lot of junk. So our digestive system is sending signals to the brain. Alert, alert, alert. We're having a problem. We are inflamed. We do not feel good. This is not working. And so the nervous system will also be triggered typically because of that inflammation. So just kind of seeing this depiction sometimes helps so you have an idea of what's going on. And then we're going to go through some strategies as well. Okay, this one is blood sugar. We're going to focus on detox. So I can find my future. Okay. So we already touched on some signs that you might need to detox. This is another nice little list. So if any of those seem familiar. And what we're going to talk about are some strategies that you can start to detox. Now, this is more focused on the, gut detox, the nutritional part of the detox and what that can look like. Typically, I recommend first thing in the morning, you're going to want to either get greens or some sort of minerals into your system. If you have the Rise and Source, you're going to do those source minerals first thing in the morning with some water. You can choose whether you want to do it with the Rise or you want to do the Rise a little bit later before breakfast. You can still have a little bit of coffee, but I do recommend that you have your coffee about 20 to 30 minutes after you've gotten some water and minerals in your system first. So I wouldn't start with that. There's other options, like some people will do like lemon water, citrus water, with a little bit of sea salt, or, there's variations, but getting something else in your system that's nourishing before the coffee, because of course, coffee can spike the cortisol a little bit. I don't think it's always bad. It can help with, your alertness and stuff through the day and that earlier part of the day, but you want to really moderate and make sure you're not getting all the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides in your system with coffee. And the other hard, it's really tough as well because the coffee comes in these little plastic pods nowadays. And so with the heat and that plastic, we're also getting little tiny plastic particles in the system if you're using those. So I do caution you to not use those if possible, to find other ways of making your coffee and utilizing other options. Some of them now they've changed the way that they make them so they're not as much plastic, but being aware of that can be something to keep an eye on because it can affect hormones. It can affect the endocrine system, among other things like inflammation. Enzymes, I have recommendations I can send from like Amazon or whatever if you don't have a good digestive enzyme. I do recommend that with a detox, especially because typically, if you are needing some type of detox, your liver is probably working pretty hard. And these enzymes are going to help support that liver, help the liver, give the liver a helping hand, if you will. And so they help metabolize foods and improve your nutritional absorption, but also will grab onto some of the junk and help flush some of that out. So that's important to know. I would say typically be either before or after your two largest meals of the day. I've seen huge improvements for a lot of my clients with just doing that and making some, small adjustments with nutrition as well. Herbs can be really, really powerful. So that's why I have this nice little list here. You might not be able to find all of these, but dandelion root extract is one of the most common, and milk thistle that I've seen in like a tea that you can grab at your health food store or order on like Amazon. And then like a good spirulina powder, because you can put that in almost anything that you're wanting to do, like in your oatmeal in the morning if you do oatmeal, or in a smoothie, in a juice, in a tea, whatever you want. Even if you're making like pancakes, they might turn out to be slightly green. We'll be ready for St. Patrick's Day. But the benefits are so, so huge. And then here's some other foods that you're going to want to think about incorporating. So when you are, one of the biggest things is when you are snacking, I'm going to send this for you guys in the chat. When you are hungry, you feel like you need a snack or whatever it is, in the evening, in the afternoon, anytime, one of the keys is you want to start adding in more of these things. One of the biggest issues I have with a lot of resets, detox diets, whatever out there is it's a very, very focused on the you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have deprive. Now, there's a place where that's necessary, yes. But what can really help with the mental emotional piece of it and to actually sustain the habits much longer is to instead start with adding something beneficial to what you're already doing and slowly phasing out the more unhealthy part of it. So let's say you crave chips in the afternoon or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. And that's not the most healthy choice. Adding some protein with it, or maybe a turmeric ginger tea after you have the chips, or something where you have, some spirulina in your water before or after, adding something that's going to improve your body's ability to handle it, lower the glycemic index so your blood sugar isn't spiked as much. That's going to reduce the amount of inflammation happening. Anything you can do. So any kind of herbal tea before or after, something like the Rise and the Source Minerals, where it's going to help balance the blood sugar, actually help with the metabolism of carbohydrates, and give you those aminos that you need, those protein building blocks, something like that. Or adding in, if you have like I can send a recommendation for like an organic spirulina if you like adding, if you think that would be easy for you to add into your routine. The more herbs, the more protein, and the more good omega fatty things like avocados, which is not on this list, but there's other lists where we'll get to that, the better, because that's going to improve your body's ability to handle when you have a little bit of whatever it is. So these are some strategies you can use throughout the day. I kind of put this in order of basically from morning to night. You can use things like binders, which is that source minerals that I mentioned in the beginning. That is a binder. What does that mean? It means it grabs onto heavy metals, parasites, mold, toxins, pulls those out while also replenishing your minerals. So you're getting all those minerals that you need, over 70 different trace minerals, along with your calcium, magnesium, zinc, and everything, and you're getting rid of the junk. And then incorporating things that are going to help with inflammation. Like I said, the more herbs, fresh ginger, turmeric, and garlic, the more you can incorporate those into your meals, the better, as much as possible. Well, like I said, the antioxidants and those omega-3s. So we'll get to those in a little bit, just so you guys can have kind of a simplified idea of what that can look like. And it really doesn't take that much time. None of this stuff is very time consuming. It's small things that you're incorporating into your existing routine. In case you guys haven't seen this, I did want to touch on what does leaky gut mean? Because a lot of people don't really know. Typically over the years, most of us when we were kids and teenagers and whatnot, we ate a lot of, junk, right? We probably ate McDonald's or whatever. And that can actually damage the lining of the gut. This specific example is talking about gluten, but it really applies to a lot of different foods that are highly processed that cause damage. The lining of our gut should be these tight cells, these are the cells together. And then that's, the barrier. And these little cilia are processing our food molecules as they're going through to do what they're supposed to be doing. But unfortunately, what happens? Damage happens from preservatives, additives, fillers, dyes, the process, just anything that's been processed, chips, cookies, crackers, pretzels, those kinds of stuff. If there's any heavy metals in there from where they were manufactured, all that stuff is going to cause some level of damage. Pretty much everyone has some level of damage. Some it's more than others. Some don't notice any issues. Some do, depending on the person and other factors going on. So what that means is then no matter what we're eating. So this is where you start seeing people go get those like allergy tests and then they're allergic to XYZ. They stop eating those things. They start eating other things and they're eating healthy. They're eating spinach and, garlic and all these great things. And then they go back and they get more testing. And all of a sudden, they're also allergic to those things they've been eating. That is strange. Why? First of all, there's different types of allergy tests. So that's something to talk about another time. But also, it means that no matter what you're eating, if it's showing up as an allergy or it's causing inflammation, you're just getting inflamed and having some sort of issues, whether it's headaches, rashes, gas, bloating, any kind of digestive problems, almost every time you eat or every single day, that's an indication that probably no matter what you're eating, a little bits of it are getting into your bloodstream. And of course, the immune system is going to be like, this does not belong here. So the immune system will respond. There'll be some sort of inflammatory issue typically. So as we go through this series here, I am going to talk about ways that you can start to heal this. So what can we do, right? Because if we're eating healthy things and it's coming through and causing that inflammation, what do you do? So that is part of what the detox process can look like. And when I'll get you guys that step-by-step process. Part of that is the healing. There's a healing phase in the detox process. One of the biggest um, mistakes that people will make is they will do some sort of detox for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. And then boom, they'll go right back to like normal, like, hamburgers, whatever, chips, fill in the blank. And that doesn't allow the gut to heal, this lining of the gut to really heal. It doesn't even really allow enough time for hormones to regulate, all those other things, the inflammation in the body to resolve. So, you can heal this. It takes a little bit more time though. So as you do a detox that might be as short as 2 weeks, there's a healing phase after where I have some strategies to help promote healing throughout the body and systems, and managing that stress and really making sure you have solidified little things in your routine that you are going to promote that healing and sustain those habits long term. And then, allowing yourself, after that, slowly phasing into allowing yourself little treats here and there, or a little bit of, fast food or something every once in a while, but making sure that you're really moderating that and being in a place where your habits are really, solidified, that you don't struggle with the portion control as much, that you have strategies in place before you're going to go out to eat that are going to help, so you're not going to order the wrong things or whatever it is. Okay. So we'll go through those. All right, so I want to make sure we're not too long today and we have time, a couple minutes for questions. So I'm going to pause our recording, go through specific tools for you guys, and next time we'll get into more strategies on what this can look like and how we can detox different areas and do the reset.